rise, Chris Druk will lead us in the pledge. Doris Knetchel is our presiding officer for elections. Just a second, let me turn that on. Okay.
Good morning. The polls are now open.
Good job.
Good morning. Just a reminder that this is a polling place and there is no politicking. So, the legal voters of the town of Newfane, Vermont are hereby notified and warned that pursuant to Title 17 Vermont State Statutes, Section 2655, they are to meet in the Williamsville Hall in Williamsville, Vermont on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015 at 9 a.m. to act upon the articles below. And the legal voters of the town of Newfane, Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Williamsville Hall in said town on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015 at 9 a.m. to consider and act upon the Newfane School District warning. The meeting is now in session. However, if there is no objection, we are very lucky to have both our own Emily Long, representative to Montpelier, and our new Senator Becca Belaint are here and are willing to answer your questions if the Assembly will allow that. Hearing no objection, where are our elected officials? Please come up.
So this place hasn't warmed up. Not since I grew up here. Most of you may not know this, but I grew up on Baker Brook Road in Williamsville. And I used to walk down to town meeting through the mud, usually. This is an unusual year. So first, thank you for sending me to represent you up to Montpelier. It has been an education. It is, as Becca will tell you, it's nonstop, it's demanding, but it's very rewarding work. And we're very happy to be up there for you. I was appointed to the House Education Committee, and as most of you probably are aware, education has been in the forefront of the conversation since I arrived in Montpelier back in the beginning of January. And I've had very little time for much else beyond sitting in committee and doing a lot of work. And I will tell you, I think most people are aware, we passed out of the House Education Committee a bill last Thursday at about 5 o'clock. It is a work in progress from my perspective still. There are a lot of things in it that I think are good, and there's some things that I would still like to see adjusted, and I think probably we're going to see some big changes still coming out of that bill. I also wanted to mention the budget gap, which I am sure everybody's been reading about. It is a challenging year up there. I know, being new, and Becca too, being new, we don't have anything to compare it to, but everybody I talk to up there says, this is not normal, this is not usual. We are really facing some serious challenges in this state to close that budget gap. The governor's budget did close the $112 million gap, approximately 112, by about 93 million. There's another 18 million that still need to be found. And some of the conversations around cuts are really, I'm starting to get a lot of emails about them. They're really challenging. And so stay tuned. I don't know where we're gonna end up in the end, but we will need to make some cuts this year, that's for sure. We need to close that gap. So if anybody has comments or questions, what I want is to hear from you. I have like every year, I brought the Doyle poll. So if anybody is interested in filling that out, it is non-scientific, but it is a poll. And then I also brought a town meeting report. I didn't bring too many of these, but I do have a website, emilylongvt.com. That's on it too if you don't want to take paper. I put the town meeting report on that. All my contact information is there. What is so important to me as I'm sitting up there is to hear from you. And I have started to hear from you more as bills are starting to develop and things are starting to happen up there. I'm starting to get more feedback. I get a lot of feedback, as I'm sure Becca does, about from all over the state. But when I hear from the 3 towns that I represent, it really means a lot. So feel free to contact me by email, phone, whatever. All my contact information is on here or on the website. So anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. Let you speak, Becca.
So I'm Becca Ballant, and I'm standing at this distance from Emily just because the optics are funny when we're standing next to each other. This is not an indication of how I feel about Representative Long at all. I just want to be really clear. You are so lucky to have Emily Long. She is my go-to person on the House side when I have questions about what's going on in the other body. I pick her brain at lunch or at breakfast or stop her in the hall and say, okay, what's happening with this? She is a tremendous asset, not just for you, but for all of us in Windham County, because she has her eye on education in a really broad sort of way. She can dive down deep, but also look at the big picture. So I am so grateful that she's there. For those of you who don't know me, I started here in Windham County as an educator. I taught in Floodbrook and in Marlborough and also in Guilford, and then worked on a number of projects with our school district in Brattleboro. When I left teaching, I really decided to dive into workforce development because I saw the connection so clearly that we needed to be doing more on the education side to improve the economic landscape here in Windham County. I was compelled to run because of the poverty that I saw growing in the public schools in Brattleboro, and from all of the younger families that I heard from around the county about how difficult it was for them to make a living here. So that's what really compelled me to run. I am on the Economic Development Committee in the Senate. That's my morning committee. My afternoon committee is institutions. And for those of you who don't know what the Institutions Committee does, we are looking at all the state buildings, all the state properties. And what's been an interesting situation this year is because the general fund is under so much duress, we are getting requests from the Capitol bill that we've never seen before, because they're looking for money anywhere they can. And when I mean they are, everyone, everyone at the state level. So we've gotten all these requests about IT projects, and if you know about bondable projects, IT projects don't tend to be 30-year lifespan bondable, but we're seeing all these agencies asking us for IT money for upgrades. Now I tell you this because the context in which we're trying to do our work is in the shadow of the problems that we've had with Vermont Health Connect, the website in particular. And Jane Kitchell, who is the chair of appropriations on the Senate side, she's a senator from Caledonia, she is someone who really has her eye to trying to figure out how do we handle the fact that we still have ongoing expenses related to Vermont Health Connect, the website, and it's still not working correctly. And that is not a partisan issue. I'm a Democrat. I'm here to tell you it's spilling over. Because we have continuing issues with that website, it's very difficult for agencies to try to get IT money that they need because everybody is in a state of wariness, really, about it. So I wanted to give you a heads up about that. The other thing that I wanted to say is, like Emily said, we get hundreds of emails. And what I do when I get an email is I scan to the bottom and figure out if the person lives in my county. And if the person lives in my county, I absolutely read the email, and I do get back. Sometimes it takes a few days. I know I have a stack of phone calls that I have to get back. That's just last week around particularly heated issues. So what I want to say is if you don't hear back right away, it doesn't mean you're not on my radar screen. It just means I need to find the time. When we're in our Senate work, we're in committee all morning, we're in committee all afternoon, and then we try to fit the phone calls and emails in around that. Don't give up. If you send an email and you don't hear back right away, please feel free to send me another one. I will absolutely get back to you. And I know we don't want to take up too much time. I don't know if there are questions.
Why don't you field questions? Sure.
The governor's all set about not raising the tax. However, right now, you guys are being asked to consider cuts to Efficiency Vermont, which $3 spent on Efficiency Vermont returns, I think $3 in savings, and by cutting Efficiency Vermont, you're essentially raising tax on everything. At the same time, he's taking away community high schools and prisons, which is another tax. So I'm wondering both about your own sentiments and what you think the sentiments in the House might be to resist the governor's insistence that the poor people pay the brunt of the second dilemma.
Well, I will say this, that I actually met with folks from Community High School last week in Brattleboro. We had a very long conversation. And one of the things that I've noticed in this particular budget year is if you're going to try to preserve a program, which I'm absolutely committed to that in particular, I'm very concerned about the education and the pipeline issue to prisons. And I can tell from your nodding, you understand that connection I'm talking about. What happens in our committees is if you say, I really want to protect this program, somebody else in the committee says, find me the money. Find me the money to protect that program. And so that's, on the ground level, that's what we're trying to do for our constituents back home, because advocating for a particular program without a budget line item dollar that you can attach to it from somewhere else is not going to go anywhere. It's a brutal landscape right now, and I am absolutely sympathetic to what you're saying. I don't think any of us are comfortable with the cuts that we're talking about. But we've never seen a project this big, $112 million budget gap. I think we're looking in every possible place for that. And I don't know if you want to add to that from the House side.
Yeah, just first of all, H40, which it is one of the more complicated bills that is sitting out there, and that's the one you're talking about with Efficiency Vermont. I'm still trying to learn about it. On the floor the other day, there was a lot of conversation around H40 and around Efficiency Vermont. What I did learn from it, most people are still not completely understanding of what's going on in H40 because it's a real complicated bill about energy efficiency. And but I do know the funds for Efficiency Vermont have not been cut, they've been frozen for the next 3 years. So there is still money there, which means there is still time to make sure that we're moving forward supporting the projects that Efficiency Vermont has been doing. Mm-hmm. This new reset that is part of Efficiency Vermont does have what is called tiers, and there are 3 tiers in it, if anyone's familiar with this. The 3 tiers. In the 3rd tier, that is where, and I'm not speaking from a lot of experience about this, but I have looked into it over the last few days because I really needed to find out more about it because I'm worried about the Efficiency Vermont piece. There are ways to support within the 3rd tier the same things that are going on in Efficiency Vermont. But again, I want to be real clear, Efficiency Vermont has not been cut. It has been frozen for the next few years, so I'm still looking at it.
And the other thing with Efficiency Vermont and any other programs that receive funding from the state, everybody's looking at the ways in which the programs themselves may be made more efficient and save money so that the money is going to the people who most directly need it. So there are, as you might imagine, there are agencies and there are programs that perhaps are too top-heavy in their administration. I'm not saying it's Efficiency Vermont, but certainly people have an eye to that so that the money goes where we most critically need it.
Gerald Julian, CSA South Campaign, and Emily, as a member of the Leland and Gray School Board for many, many years, and now in the position as a representative. I guess I would like to ask, what's your view for our future with our school systems, particularly the ones in our district here? Last week there was an article where you and Larry, also on the Education Committee, were talking about the consolidation and reaching a certain number of students to make it feasible to not consolidate versus consolidating. And so I guess I'd like to hear what's your future view for our district? And what about the idea of not so much of consolidating the schools, but perhaps consolidating supervisory offices so we don't have to have so many superintendents at high salaries, as well as, the administrative work that, I guess is a lot of work, but is that better or a possible scenario?
So thank you for that question, Gerald, because it's really an important piece. First, I'll tell you that I've worked very hard along with the rest of the Education Committee to make sure that there is flexibility in this bill to allow local voice in the decision-making around what we are going to look like in the future. So that is in there. While there is 1,100, a number of 1,100 for enrollment for any new integrated education system, which is what we're calling them, there is a flexibility around that where you can get a waiver if you have made a decision to merge with other school districts and you cannot make it to the 1,100. So there's a lot of flexibility in this. The problem around flexibility is that when you offer flexibility, you don't know what these new integrated education systems are going to look like. And when you don't know what they're going to look like, you can't put a dollar figure on how much money they're going to save or cost, to be upfront about it. So in the bill is a item that I'm not all that thrilled about, but have gone along with it, and you probably read that in the paper, the cap, which is a straight flat cap, which I have been fighting against for weeks in the House Ed Committee, I will admit. And the reason I don't like a flat cap like this is because it's just simply a blunt instrument. It doesn't address the issues that we have facing us, and it takes away local voice. It also just assumes that the problems are at this local level, the spending problems that we have. And while we do have to take some responsibility for the spending that we do engage in our local communities, some of this has been at the state level as well. So my push was to try to make sure that we went to the avenue of the excess spending threshold and see if we could put some more, tighten the screws on the excess spending threshold, which seems a little more fair to me if we're going to try to reduce property taxes. But that really is a harder one to qualify for savings. So right now, the cap is in there and being discussed at I think it's in Ways and Means right now. So we'll see what comes with that. What our districts are going to look like, I don't know. And I don't know that because of the flexibility in there. I do think that what's really important is that we all get engaged in what we want our communities to look like. And the last thing I'll say about this, which is I think the most important piece, and it's also something that I think has been really misunderstood. This bill has been designed, and I've spent weeks during conversations around this. It's been designed to try to support small schools in the communities. It really is. What is going on right now is that small schools are being threatened, and they're being closed all around this state. And if we can find ways to merge and collaborate with each other, then I think that there's a possibility to keep some small schools open. We've been told this left and right by so many people. We need to flexibly deploy staff around the state and around our school districts. And so that's what this bill is designed to do. So I'm hoping that we'll all get really involved with this. If this bill passes, and there will, keep an eye on it, there will be changes to it, I'm sure. But if this bill passes, that communities will engage in this conversation and try to form integrated education systems that are pre-K to 12 that really work for our students, because that's what this conversation is all about.
I think we could, if we didn't have all our work ahead of us, we would like to listen to you for a lot longer, but we do have a full agenda. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to thank Emily and Becca again for coming down, and I want to thank Todd Lawley for heating the place. You might think it's cold in here, but on Saturday, I got an email, it was 42. And it's warmer now. And I'm sure that with debate, we will warm it up even further. I do hope that however heated our debate becomes, it will remain polite. And because we're in town meeting for a few hours a year, but we are neighbors all year long. We have, can everybody hear me? This new PA system is the gift of the select board. We've allocated, last year we allocated some money for them, for their work, and they gave it all to the town to have a portable PA system that we will be able to take to wherever we have a public meeting. So thank you very much. We had advice on what to buy and help setting it up and some instruction from Bahman Mandavi again, and I want to thank him. Thank you. So speaking up is really easy for some people and really daunting for others. I don't want the microphones to be a barrier to speaking, and I want to remind everybody that the tradition, the rules are that when you speak and introduce yourself the first time, that you address your comments to the moderator. And if you are a shy person in particular, if you just think that you're talking to me, I hope that will make it easier. As much as possible, I will try to alternate between, so that we get as many different views on the spectrum and of whatever we're discussing. And I will, if people come to the microphone and line up, I will recognize them in the order that they're lined up. You can move that one out a little bit further. But now it's time for me to out anybody who is in the room who is not a registered voter in the town of Newfane to please identify yourself. You can stand up. All right. Names? We have, go ahead.
My name is Scotty Kloshnik. I'm a school principal here at Newbrook Elementary.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Bowen, and I live down by Tony Bridge. Daniel Quick. I'm living on Newfane Hill Road with Freedom.
All right. And in back.
Jen Fry, I'm a business owner in Newfane. Pat Weisbrick, Rock River Terrace. Pat Weisbrick.
And your affiliation, please.
I live on Rock River Terrace and I'm on the planning commission.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Another one. Shannon Meckel.
I'm the administrative assistant.
And you're not a registered voter. All right, I just need to remind you, welcome you, and remind you that you can't vote. I'm sorry? There's more? Oh, yes, our sheriff, our deputy sheriff.
I'm David Emery. I'm with the Wyndham County Sheriff's Department and here to serve you today.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. All right. Did I get everybody now? Is there anyone here at town meeting for the first time? Please stand up and introduce yourselves. Welcome.
I'm Judy Harrigan, and I live on Bronx Hill Road.
I'm married to Judy Harrigan. My name is Brian.
Thank you.
We got 2 Shih Tzus.
Sir, in back. Welcome.
My name is Carl Lindgren. I live not in the cemetery, but up on the cemetery. No relation to Lance.
All right, welcome.
My name is Daniel Skull. We're representing my wife. We live in Browns Road, and we just moved to Newfane this year.
Welcome. Welcome. All right, if you have questions about how we proceed, or if you have questions about what you want to do, please ask me. That's my job today. A few announcements. First of all, there's a fire exit there and there. I hope we won't need them. There are restrooms on this level and 2 downstairs. Unfortunately, there is not a community meal after today's meeting, but we do have the Newbrook 6th grade here selling hot beverages, cold beverages, and baked goods to support their trip to Montreal. And I hope that you will partake there. Brattleboro Community Television is here, and residents can watch this recorded meeting on demand at brattleboro.tv.org. They've also asked me to make an announcement. There is this bright green, there's a lot of literature up here, including this bright green piece, which is a survey for Brattleboro Television. They are going through their contract negotiation with Comcast in the next year, and they want to know how best to serve you. So if you fill that out and leave it in that box, that would be great. This green sheet of paper is a list of resources for if you need help. So you pick one of those up. There's something from Rescue. There's Senator Bill Doyle's Unscientific Town Meeting Day survey. Emily did not answer it the way Dick Merrick used to. We'll have to teach her about that. Also here, this is the 2015 Community Health Needs Assessment from Grace Cottage Hospital in conjunction with Brattleboro Memorial Hospital and the Brattleboro Retreat. It's a survey. They would like your input, and the survey is here. There's, when you fill it out, you can put it in that box, and someone will collect it at the end of the meeting. We also have a report from the Planning Commission. Tristram Johnson would like to give you a quick report.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Gloria, I have this electronically, so I'll email it to you after the meeting, so you don't have to take notes. Forgive me, but I'm going to read what I have for you because I took time making sure that I would include all the points that are important. And it's important that you all know that I'm representing all 5 members of the Planning Commission and consensus of their thoughts that we came to at the last meeting. I'm the chair. I'm Tristram Johnson. There are 5 of us who serve on the Planning Commission. We meet the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock in the town hall. And we are proposing, as is written in the town plan, to lead a process to create a new town plan. Why? The current, recently adopted and approved town plan only involved updating statistics and correcting facts in the former document. That process did not have nor take the time to ask you what you want or what you most care about. A town plan should clearly reflect the values and desires and dreams of the town's residents, and these should clearly paint the image of what the town should look like as it grows. The Planning Commission felt uniformly that the current town plan lacks heart, character, feeling, and ownership. It lacks a sense of purpose or focus. It lacks the views and dreams of the people here. It lacks targeted objectives and goals that are measurable. And it also lacks a sense that someone is actually steering the ship so that there is an end result, an accomplishment of what we all are looking for. The Planning Commission is ready to lead an inclusive, fully representative process and open effort to define the new town plan. This effort must address the interests and needs of South Newfane, Williamsville, and Newfane. This process should effectively identify and secure your values and standards about growth and the services these towns should offer. Briefly, we envision the emergence of a variety of committees reflecting passions and interests. Initially, we think it's very important we start with the historical base of this community. How did it start? What are the cultural roots of Newfane? That's missing in the current document. We felt it terribly important. We ground ourselves in why we're all here and how this all happened. And we hope very much that the Historical Society will be a part of that committee. Obviously, also, there needs to be an economic committee. And how we might connect to the resort area activity or support new opportunities. Clearly, there's a new committee already involved, Newfane anew. They are already way down the road in this topic, and we hope very much that they'll be part of this process. We hope the schools and students might play a role in compiling and displaying gathered information and artistically rendering images about what the future might look like. There will be other committees and themes. What I offered is simply illustrative, not exclusive. Finally, throughout the process, we care very much to see objectives defined, how they will be measured, and if we are really lucky, some reference to when they'll be completed. Most important, any goals that come out of this need to be interlinked, intertwined, that they build each other synergistically for a result that we're all looking for. Please get connected, get involved, bring your passions and your interests to this process. Enrich the final product with what you care most about. The end result belongs to you, not us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to now draw your attention to the town report, which this year is dedicated to Esther Robinson. And to tell you there would be no town report, no town meeting, no budget, no bills paid, policies made, were it not for the volunteers who serve on our behalf, both for the Newfane School Board and the Newfane Select Board. These are ordinary citizens who have made an extraordinary commitment of service to our town, and I'd like to take this moment to thank them. And if you look on page 26, you will see that there are 2 pages of people beyond the Select Board and the School Board who also serve our town. And I would like to, for everyone whose name is on this list, to please stand up. That includes all of you. There are extra reports up here, town reports. If you don't have a town report, you can get an extra one right here. And if you look at the vital statistics at the back of the book, you'll see that we've gained 16 future voters last year, but we lost 12. So as you deliberate today, I hope you will keep in mind the people who passed last year, because they are people who governed us and our town before us. We inherit their legacy. And as we govern today, I'd like you to keep in mind that we have an obligation to those 16 babies. So we are lucky to be able to engage in direct democracy, which is a great Vermont tradition. And this is your meeting, your chance to find common ground for the common good. At this time, I would like to recess the school meeting and until we finish business of the town. And there are a pair of lost gloves. They'll be right here for someone. Found. Article 1 is by Australian ballot as printed. Please make sure you take time to vote today. Article 2, shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to collect its current taxes by its town treasurer pursuant to 32 VSA subsection 4791. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved. I heard Todd Lawley, and Myra seconds it. It has been moved and seconded. Article 2, shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to collect its current taxes by its town treasurer pursuant to 32 VSA subsection 4791. Is there any discussion? Is it the pleasure of the assembly to vote? Yes. All right, I have to read it again. A yay vote means you're in favor of this article, and a no vote means you're opposed. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to collect its current taxes by its town treasurer pursuant to 32 VSA subsection 4791? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and Article 2 passes. Article 3. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane pay taxes for the ensuing year on a quarterly basis due on the 15th of August, October, January, and April, the late charge for interest being at the maximum legal rate of 1% per month for the current fiscal year and 1.5% per month for each month thereafter until paid? Is there a motion?
So moved.
And who's that? Jody? French, do you? Second. Chris? Drew? Second. Article 3, as read, is now in motion. Is there any discussion?
The underworld stocking thing. I just have a question. For the current fiscal year, so if you're late on the last quarter of your taxes, then the new fiscal year kicks in 2 weeks after you're late, does that mean that your 1% period is only 2 weeks and you owe 1.5%, or how does that work?
Did everybody hear the question about timing of late payments? Is there someone here who can answer that question? Maureen.
Maureen Albert, town treasurer and collector of delinquent taxes. 1% is for a charge for late fees for the 4 quarters, ending April 15th. Then the treasurer has to do a warrant to the collector of delinquent taxes, and at that time the collector of delinquent taxes charges a 1.5% interest charge and an 8% penalty. And then they take over, that year is closed, and they take as current year, and it becomes a delinquent.
Does that answer your question?
So does that mean that, so if I'm late on, I pay my first 3 quarters of taxes, but the last quarter I don't pay, after that 3-month period, I'm automatically on the new fiscal year, and therefore 1.5%?
It's not considered a fiscal year, it's the tax due dates is what it goes by.
Well, we first, what is that reference to fiscal year?
Yeah, and well, this is, they use fiscal year because it's fiscal year 2014 right now. But as of the 15th of April, it's considered delinquent. So it goes into the hands of the delinquent tax collector, and that's when it gets charged, the 1.5% interest, 15 days after.
So it's 15 days after the 15th of April.
By law, the treasurer, the collector of current year taxes, has to do a warrant within 15 days of the date it is due and transfer it over to the collector of delinquent taxes.
So it sounds like it's after 15 days it's delinquent. Does that answer your question?
So if you don't want to pay your taxes, you should not do it the beginning part of the year, not the last part.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions or comments or discussions on Article 3? You ready for the question? An aye vote means you're in favor of Article 3. A no vote means you're against it. Article 3, shall the voters of the town of Newfane pay taxes for the ensuing year on a quarterly basis due on the 15th of August, October, January, and April? The late charge for interest being at the maximum legal rate of 1% per month for the current fiscal year and 1.5% per month for each month thereafter until paid. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and Article 3 passes. Article 4. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to sell or otherwise convey property acquired through tax sale proceedings? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Gary Cass has moved it. Is there a second?
Second.
Who's that? Margaret Wimbauer? Okay, so Article 4, shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to sell or otherwise convey property acquired through tax sale proceedings? Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? An aye vote means you're in favor of Article 4. A no vote means you're opposed. Article 4, shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to sell or otherwise convey property acquired through tax sale proceedings? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and Article 4 passes. Article 5. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to pay its officers for the ensuing year the following salaries and expenses? Town clerk, $35,725 annual salary. Town treasurer, $35,725 annual salary. Listers, $14.40 per hour. Other elected or appointed officers, $9.15 per hour. Mileage reimbursement at 57.5 cents per mile. Is there a motion? Ken McFadden, is there a second? Bob Lyons. The Article 5 as read is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion?
Deb over on the left.
Oh, yes, and I've been asked to please have everyone who speaks stand. I think that's for the camera.
Tristan Johnson, Newfane. Simply a brief comment. A couple of years ago, this came up, hot debate, and the question went to the select board, how are you evaluating that you can even justify an increase? And since then, they've really taken the bull by the horns and figured out how to assess performance and therefore to evaluate what should be the compensation. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Katie, please identify yourself for the crowd. You're going to have to speak louder.
I just have a question as to why or how is it that the town clerk's salary and the treasurer's salary are the same when they are two separate, completely separate jobs, and the town clerk is getting paid the same as the treasurer? I'm not saying that, I don't know, I just don't like I'm okay with the treasurer, but as far as the raise for the town clerk, it seems awful comparative to other towns for the state. 25 towns, I believe, are getting paid between $12,000 and $15,000 a year. So I'm just kind of curious why the town clerk's position and the treasurer's position are the same salary when they're two different jobs.
Is there anyone who wants to address that?
I can attempt to tackle it just by my view. Chris Drew, Select Board Member. I would say that a lot of that comes from time. The two positions, as they've evolved over time, the salaries were set, and I think that a lot of times a board would meet and as they were doing increases, they would do cost of living increases not only for the employees but also for those positions in fairness. So I think that's really kind of how it evolved.
I would add one point to that. The ultimate decision on all these items is yours. So if the townspeople believe that there should be a distinction in the salaries between those two, that's something that can be brought up and discussed. It hasn't been the case so far. The town has repeatedly voted for the same salary increases for each of those offices.
Is there any further discussion? I've got to make sure everybody else who wants to speak first has. Is there anyone who has not spoken to this issue who would like to speak? Yes.
Mike Rowan. they work the same amount of hours? Is it equivalent number of hours that they each work for the town?
Who would like to answer that? Gary?
Elected officials can set their own hours. In this case, both of them have normal 40-hour work weeks. My understanding is that both wind up putting in substantially more hours than that, but I don't know precisely how much each of them does put in.
Is there any other questions or comments, sir? Is there anyone who can answer that question, the percent interest increase? Gary?
The percent increase was 1.7, which was the increase that was made on the basis of cost of living for Social Security adjustments.
Any other discussion or questions from anyone who's not spoken yet? Yes.
Your Honor, Gardner, I'd just like to say that I think Lori does a great job.
Is there anyone else who has not spoken for the first time yet in back?
Remind you that this is a person's wages, and 12 to 25,000. That's not a living wage. We want to keep a town clerk. We have to pay them to live here in town.
Is there any other? You can.
I'd just like to point out that both of them take their work home with them. You'll see them in the office even when it's closed. So I think that they're worth every penny we're paying.
Excuse me. Applause after speeches are actually out of order, so I'm going to stop you from. Those are Robert's rules. Yes, in back.
I think that a lot of towns, town clerk positions are part-time positions. I lived in New Hampshire, I've lived in other towns in Vermont. And a lot of times it's just a part-time, it's really a part-time job. They're closed on, say, Wednesday through Thursday. So we have a full-time, we have two full-time individuals here. I don't think $35,000 is outrageous, and I don't think that it's, I think they're worth the money.
Is there anyone else who has not spoken yet? Katie, would you like to speak for a second time? Is there anyone else who would like to speak for a second time? Is there any further discussion on Article 5? Yes.
Carl Lindgren, Newfane. The $9.15 per hour, that seems a little light considering minimum wage is about that.
Does anybody want to speak to that? Dan?
I think that's absolutely true, but the differences are elected officials. It's really community service. And so we're giving them a nominal stipend, which covers gas and maybe some money. It's not really, it's not a job. It's a job, a hard job. That's not when he gets paid. But I think that that's the beauty, the fact that we are willing and somehow manage to be able to get people to run for these things that don't pay. I think that's really strong in your community. I specialize in this.
Yes. This is your second time. Just to let you know, it's okay.
I think it would be really interesting next year to know how many of this category of public service employees don't get paid, don't submit for payment, because a fair number of them don't. So 9.15, 10.15, 2.15, it almost doesn't matter, because a fair number of them never submit an invoice.
Is there any further discussion? It seems as if you're ready for the vote. Vote on Article 5, and I vote is in favor of Article 5 as written. A no vote is against it, and I will read it again. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to pay its officers for the ensuing year the following salaries and expenses? Town clerk, $35,725 annual salary. Town treasurer, $35,725 annual salary. Listers, $14.40 per hour. Other elected or appointed officers, $9.15 per hour, mileage reimbursement at 57.5 cents per mile. All those in favor of Article 5, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes have it. The article passes. Article 6. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to authorize capital fund expenditures in the amount of $205,543 as proposed in the capital needs plan for fiscal year 16? Is there a motion?
To the left.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got Luis as the mover and Ken as the second. Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Reads, shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to authorize capital fund expenditures in the amount of $205,543 as proposed in the capital needs plan for fiscal year 2016. Is there any discussion? Yes. Yes.
Can't hear you, Dennis. 17, 18, 19, should that be Article 6 rather than Article 5?
Article, pages 16, 17, and 8. Right. No, it does say Article 5 up there. I've got it highlighted, and it's wrong. Would you like to make an amendment?
Yes, make an amendment to change under capital needs summary, fiscal
Mhm.
year 2015.
Mhm.
Change Article 5 to Article 6 on the three pages.
Right, actually, I don't think we need an amendment, we just need to note that we need to make that change. So, everybody, on page 17, if you hold, right, it's 17, 18, and 19. All the capital needs summary is are on those 3 pages, and if you look at the top of the page, it says fiscal year 2015, fiscal year 2016. Underneath 2016, it says Article 5, and it should say Article 6. Because we are on Article 6. We passed Article 5. So, just so that we're all, thank you, Dennis, for pointing that out. There's a lot that goes into this, and more eyes always helps. Is there any discussion on the article? Are you ready for the vote? All right. Article 6, an aye vote means you are in favor of this capital needs plan. It reads, and a no vote means you oppose it. Excuse me. Article 6, shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to authorize capital fund expenditures in the amount of $205,543 as proposed in the capital needs plan for fiscal year 2016. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and the article passes. Article 7. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to raise the amount of $96,530 for fiscal year 2016 capital needs? Is there a motion? Who's that? Tom Bedell, second. Chris Williams? Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Shall the vote, Article 7 has been moved and seconded. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to raise the amount of $96,530 for fiscal year 2016 capital needs? Is there any discussion? Yes. Excuse me, I recognized someone back there first, and then I'll come to you. I didn't see you, I'm sorry. Good.
seem like there's things happening now. So, appreciate
So Steve is asking the select board to please explain the difference between the capital needs plan and the capital needs, Article 6 and 7. Gloria? And here's...
So in Article 6, you're going to see...
I'm sorry.
No, she's describing the difference between the two.
Yeah, so if you're concerned about Articles 6, 7, and 8, you're going to see in Article 6 that we're actually voting on the total to be spent. And then Article 7, this, I'm reading crib notes, so that's why I'm looking down. This is voting on raising taxes to cover the expenses they just authorized. So you just authorized Article 6. Now you're saying we can actually raise that money. So you're seeing a difference in the verb in the sentence. And they are to be, taxes to be raised and spent immediately. The remaining funds to equal the $205,543 of the last article is actually, we have resources to cover that. And then you're going to see in Article 8, when we get there, we're voting to raise taxes for capital funds. So from the regular fund, general fund, then we have a capital fund raising.
Does that answer your question, Steve? You think so? All right, thank you. I said that that answered your question too, but it didn't answer yours. Please stand. Right, we're not at 8.
8 say beyond 2016, beyond FY 2016, is that what we're saying?
Gary will answer your question. She'll.
You're correct. Each year the town votes to add a specific amount to the capital reserve fund. That fund provides some of the resources that Gloria was referring to earlier, which allows us to take care of the capital needs without having to raise every penny of it through new taxes. Does that answer the question?
Sure, I was just hoping to clarify that.
Okay.
You're still not clear.
No, I just thought maybe for generations to come, they may want to see if that money is for something after 2016, but I'm not going to pick that.
I think you'll see it in the capital funds pages in your town report. Is there further discussion of Article 7? Yes.
Is there any way we could have more detail about what's in the capital budget? For example, Depot Hill Road, $25,000 each year for the next 5 years.
Can you tell us what page you're on?
I'm in the budget, 18.
Page 18.
Do we have any idea what that's for? And then the trucks, the F-350, every 5 years you replace it. Do we do that whether we need to or not? What if it only has 3,000 miles on it? I mean, is there any way in the future, I realize I can't do this, but in the future, could we have more detail as to what these capital funds are actually earmarked for?
And do you want an answer now to the Grimes or the Depot Road one?
No, but it's too late for this year, but I'm just saying in the future, would it be possible to have more detail about what
I can answer the Depot Road.
I think Todd would like to respond.
As far as Depot Road goes, that's where it slides. We keep having trouble and it's sliding again. That gets very expensive. This year, we're going to have to dig that all out again and fix it. That's why we keep putting money in there for that, because it's an ongoing thing. It doesn't seem to stop. As far as the trucks go, it's something that the select board does look at every year. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember, but the 1990 Mack we just got rid of last year, that was supposed to have gone like 10 years before that. So we do keep the equipment longer if we can, but these little trucks do the real steep roads, the ones that we can't do with the big trucks, and it takes its toll on them. The one we've got now, we've put probably $7,000 or $8,000 a year into it, just maintaining that truck. That's why we're getting rid of it. But
At budget time,
Excuse me.
For the voters to know a little bit more about what those numbers mean.
yeah,
Please let him finish.
no, that's fine. That's, budget time, we usually start like November too. If people want to come to the budget meetings, they can find out some there too, so.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments about Article 7? Yes.
Kim Friedman, South Newfane. I must be a little slow at all this because I think I ask the same kind of question every year. I'm looking on page 17. Total capital required $305,543. And in sources of funds, I'm assuming that the 108,913, that capital plus capital reserve interest plus taxes to be raised should account for the 305,543. Am I correct? That the 305,543 will be the sources of that amount. Will be what's already, the capital reserves to be used, the 108,913, right? Plus the capital reserve interest that's generated, plus the taxes to be raised. Yeah? Okay. Unless my math is wrong, I don't think it adds up quite right. And this is not an overall comment expressing concern about the budget. I think you did a great job delineating the expenses. I just don't think the math is right.
Which one's on? She's on page 17. You're talking about the sources of funds?
Yeah, it doesn't, unless I'm mistaken, which is totally possible, it doesn't seem like it adds up.
I just added it very quickly, and it looked like it came to 305,543 to me.
Am I understanding that the 305,543 comes from those three sources?
Yes, capital reserves to be used, capital reserve interest, and taxes to be raised.
So then, last question, then may I ask one more question?
Please.
So then I understand, so where does the 96,530 come from that's in Article 7? That particular figure? I'm having trouble tracking that.
So who wants to answer that?
I can take a stab at it again. The taxes to be raised line, wherever it shows up, winds up being what we haven't been able to cover through other resources. So it's the difference between the other resources we have that we can devote to any expenditure and the total needs in that expenditure.
Article 7 and 8, that's where that comes from. If you add Article 7 and 8, that's where that's coming from.
Right, that I understand, I just don't, I see the 100 in addition to reserves.
And then Article 7 is 96,530.
And that's simply the remainder.
That's what we just voted to, or going to vote to.
So is everyone following this? Who wants to? Joanna?
I don't know if it's the right kind of ask, but can you tell us a little bit about these trucks that cost $200,000? I'm just curious, like, what's the life expectancy of them? How many do you have?
So
The dump trucks, except for that one that was 208,000, that's an all-wheel drive. That's the picture of it's on the front cover of the. That's a special neat truck because it is all-wheel drive. That's why that was so expensive. Normally the trucks, we can't set the price on the trucks, but the trucks are running cab and chassis and dump bodies and stuff. We just got a price on one here a little while ago to see whether we're going to replace that or lease a loader. And that one, just a two-wheel drive truck, was $202,000. Because of all the emission stuff that they put on the trucks nowadays and stuff, it gets really expensive. That's why we discussed maybe just leasing a loader for 7 years, and then we can get rid of it, and we'll have that same payment every year of like 12,000, between 12 and 17,000. I don't remember what the exact date was, or the amount was. But we're going to also look into leasing trucks this year to see if we can cut it down that way some too. So life expectancy on a normal dump truck, the two-wheel drives, is 10 years. The all-wheel drives between 12 and 15 years. The grader is 15, the loader is 15, the backhoe's 12, I think. So.
Any other questions or discussion of Article 17? 7? Sorry. Thank you. I was just checking to make sure you're paying attention, Tom. Article 7. You ready for the vote? An aye vote means you're in favor of raising the money for the capital needs. And reads, shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the select board to raise the amount of $96,530 for fiscal year 2016 capital needs? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. Article 7 passes. Article 8. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to raise the amount of $100,000 to be added to the Capital Reserve Fund to be solely dedicated for future capital needs? Is there a motion? Myra moves it, and a second, Chris Williams. And Article 8. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to raise the amount of $100,000 to be added to the Capital Reserve Fund to be solely dedicated for future capital needs? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the vote? Yes. An aye vote means you are in favor of adding money, this amount, to the Capital Reserve Fund. And a no vote means you're against it. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane vote to raise the amount of $100,000 to be added to the Capital Reserve Fund to be solely dedicated for future capital needs? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no? The ayes appear to have it. Article 8 passes. Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize the town and highway operational expenditures in the amount of $1,291,347? Is there a motion? Chris moves. Second? Myra? Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize town and highway operational expenditures in the amount of $1,291,347 is now open for discussion. Marshall Glickman. Can you speak up, please?
I have no idea to comment on, but I'm just curious, have you guys ever did a survey what Vermont averages are per mile and how we compare across the state?
Did you say per mile?
Is there some way to do a comparison? Obviously, towns are different size, but like the amount of roads we have to cover, how does that compare to, say, Vermont, New Hampshire? Have you ever
All right. So the question is, how does Newfane compare per mile, cost per mile? Is there someone on the select board who can, do you want to speak to it?
A lot of that's based on state highway. I mean, we get a certain amount from the state for funding per mile. The other problem with Newfane is we've got the second highest number of bridges in the state of Vermont. So, and a lot of those bridges are, like you can see over here, the Arch Bridge, are deteriorating. They were built in the 30s, and we've been trying to update them, which we have been. We spent a lot of money on those, so Newfane might be a little bit higher than some towns, but a lot of that's got to do with bridges in this town. So.
Yes, sir, in back.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to make an amendment? Is there a second? Kim Friedman seconds it. There is an amendment on the floor to add $1,900 to Article 9 for early education services. So does everybody, that is the amendment, and it's open for discussion.
Do you want me to speak now?
You can speak first, yes.
I actually work for early education services, and unfortunately, we missed the deadline this year to get the funds in the budget. The town of Newfane has supported EES for a number of years, but we had a new staff person on board and we missed the deadline. So they asked me to come to this meeting today to try to get that back in the budget. And if you have questions about early education services, I'm happy to share about what we do. We are actually listed in the town reports. 94 is actually the information. I also brought our annual report, which is up there on the stage. If you wanted to look over it, it looks like this. We are the Regional Parent-Child Center, and we are also a provider of early Head Start and Head Start services. As far as the Regional Parent-Child Center, we offer the Welcome Baby Program, fatherhood services, parent education classes, and we certainly serve most of Wyndham County, so Newfane residents access our services. So just here asking that you can continue to support early education services this year.
Is there any other discussion?
Through you to whoever can ask the question, Gary, you know this new thing. Would this not be better placed under Article 11?
No. Article 11 is for non-binding. This is an amendment to how much money the voters of the town of Newfane are going to authorize for expenditures. So this is the appropriate place for this amendment.
So, okay, so
it is the appropriate place.
All right, so it would be added to Todd's budget to be authorized to be spent.
Actually, I'd like to correct you. As much as Todd would like to be the author of this, it's actually our budget. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Pat Waller, Newfane, big fan of early education, but also big fan of process, and I think there's a process in place. Just a point of order for groups to come forward and make solicitations.
Any other discussion on the amendment?
Deb?
Yes.
Just in fairness to the other social services organizations that have requested support from the town, we've asked each of them to tell the voters specifically what services are being provided to Newfane itself as opposed to just the broader one. So if you could address that a little bit, it would put everything on an even footing.
We're still discussing the amendment to Article 9. There's an amendment on the floor to add $1,900 to EES. Is that correct? Early Education Services. Is there any further discussion? Yes. You actually can't speak. You are not a voter in the town of Newfane. You, however, can.
If we were to vote this into this new budget, would it be difficult to relocate it to education? Like how would it work and tack on to highway?
In fact, it's all the social services are in this budget. This is the town budget. The highway is the Lions portion of it. And by state law, voters are allowed to direct their amendments to line items in a town budget. It is not something you can do to an educational budget. So, yes.
Sandy, you did specifically say the 1,900 to go to early education services.
Yes, and I don't know how the amendment.
Excuse me, you have to let her speak.
Excuse me, but
Yes.
I believe, I just wanted to make clear, that's what I have in the notes, that it would go to early education.
Yes, yes, the amendment is $1,900 to early education services. Is there any other discussion? Yes. All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, Jen, would you like to speak if the town will allow you? All right. So, Jenny Fry is a resident of Brookline and the owner of the yoga studio in Newfane, and if there is no objection, we will allow her to speak to this amendment. Hearing no objection, Jenny has the floor. Thank you, Neil.
So I think a follow-up I had to this gentleman was just how that would work. I wasn't quite clear on it. But I was also curious as to what would happen if this was not approved to whoever this budget impacts. Just wondering, if you don't get $1,900, what happens?
Would you like to answer that?
Sure. Most of the money, my understanding from this money is that most of it goes towards more of the parent-child center part of our agency, particularly playgroups, which is something that we provide. And currently we don't have a in Newfane. We have one in Townsend, and of course all the playgroups that we provide are open to any resident in any town. But I think mostly that money goes towards playgroups for parents and children 0 to 5.
Parents and children 0 to 5. Do you want to speak? Please stand and address me. Thank you.
Rosalind Fritz, the only reason this didn't go through in the meeting is because it was late being asked for. If it had not been late being asked for, it would have gone through. I just want to reiterate that.
Did everybody hear that? Could you come up and speak into the microphone? Thank you.
Yes, I actually attended or sat in at the meeting where there was discussion on including this amount, and the only reason it was turned down was because it was late being asked for. So if it had not been late being asked for, this amount of money would have been included. So just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I've got to wait till everybody else has had a first chance. Yes?
I think I'm okay with process too, but I think especially now where the state is just dying to cut dollars from kids, it would be incumbent upon us to, we're going to have to operate us. I would speak in favor of this.
Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken for a first time on the amendment who wishes to? We can call, if that's what you're doing. You haven't spoken yet. You're calling the question. It needs to be seconded. And it needs to pass by 2/3 majority. If calling the question passes, it will end debate. So if you vote yes, aye, you will, and 2/3 of you, we will then move on to voting on the amendment. If you vote no, or it doesn't pass by 2/3, we will continue debate on this amendment. Does everybody understand? Yes. All right. So, all those in favor of ending debate, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no? Scientifically, that was 2/3 in favor of ending debate. So we will now vote on the amendment, okay? The amendment is to add $1,900 for early education services to the town budget. An aye vote means you're in favor of adding $1,900 to the town budget. A no vote means you're opposed. All those in favor of adding $1,900 to the town budget for early education services, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it, and the amendment passes. I would like help with the arithmetic. Who's done it?
I've got 1,293,247.
Could you say that slower?
1293247.
1, 2. Okay, so Article 9 has now been amended to read, shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize town and highway operational expenditures in the amount of $1,293,247? Is there any discussion? Does it have to be? It's no. The amendment has passed. This is the motion that was moved and seconded in motion. This is where we are. Is everybody with me? We're now talking about Article 9 as amended, so that the figure at the end of the sentence, at the end of the question, reads $1,293,247. The money that was just passed in the amendment is earmarked for early education services. Is there any other discussion? Dan?
We don't need to delineate that in this revised article?
No, the amendment does that. Yes?
David Roberts from South Newfane. In a similar fashion, I'd like to move that we return $2,000 to the budget for the South Newfane Community Association, which is support for the South Newfane School in South Newfane. So I would make that motion to add $2,000.
An amendment.
Earmarked for South Newfane Community Association.
So David Robertson is proposing an amendment. Roberts is opposing an amendment of adding $2,000 for the South Newfane Community Association. Is that correct? I need a second to make this amendment. And your name is? Tim Corse. Okay, so there is now a new amendment on the floor for discussion. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, well, it's very similar to the early childhood education, or whatever, I'm sorry. The request for this $2,000 was not submitted on time. It has been a budget item in the budget, town budget for many years. And I would like to ask to restore, in effect, the $2,000 annual allocation to the budget. It's not a new item. The South Newfane Schoolhouse, as I think many of you know, is really the center of the South Newfane village itself. It's very active. It has been throughout the years. It's really the only building I know of that's really available for anyone to meet or have any activity in, whether throughout Newfane during the winter, because it's a small space, and we have a heater that's been put in there now. We have a new floor. It's a lovely and a terrific community center for us all. It is used a great deal. And not to take up too much more time, but I would like to have this put back into our budget.
Yes. We did discuss that during our budget hearings, and one of the things that we noted was that the capital expenditures from prior, the 2,000 were for the things that you were talking about, the floor and upgrades and improvements for the building, and not having heard from the committee or having any request for any capital expenditures, that's why it wasn't included.
Is there any other path?
Big fan of the South Newfane Schoolhouse, big fan of process.
Did everybody hear her comment?
No.
Would you get up and say that a little louder?
I'm a big fan of the South Newfane Schoolhouse and a fan of process, especially in times when money is tight. We have to dot our I's and cross our T's.
Is there further discussion of the amendment which is on the floor, which is to add $2,000 for the benefit of the South Newfane Community Association? Are you ready for the question? All right. We are voting on the amendment only. An aye vote means you are in favor of adding $2,000 for the South Newfane Community Association. A no vote means you are against it. Are you ready? All those in favor of adding $2,000 to the South Newfane Community Association to the town budget, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We now go back to Article 9 as amended, which now reads $1,295,247. So, Article 9 now reads, shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize town and highway operational expenditures in the amount of $1,295,247? Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the vote? All right. So we are voting on Article 9 as amended. That last figure is now $1,295,247. An aye vote is in favor of that amount, and a no vote is not. Are there any questions about the process or your vote? All right. Here's the question. Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane authorize town and highway operational expenditures in the amount of $1,295,247? All those in favor of Article 9 as amended, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. Article 9 as amended passes. Article 10. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane request that the town clerk and treasurer offices be open Monday through Friday? This is a non-binding article. Is there a motion? Who's that? Gunther? And is there a second? And that's Pat? Tammy? Sorry. I know. By association, guilty. Sorry. Article 10, shall the voters of the town of Newfane request that the town clerk and treasurer offices be open Monday through Friday? It's a non-binding article, is now open for discussion. Is there any?
Deb?
Yes. Gary.
I would just mention why the select board chose to put this article on the warning this year. At the past several town meetings, when we reached Article 11 or the equivalent to transact any other business, frequently people brought up the question about the hours for the offices to be open. So the board thought it would be appropriate to make it an actually warned article on here so that each of you can decide for yourselves and deliver a very positive message one way or the other about how you'd like this to be handled.
Is there any other discussion? Yes.
Gardner, I work over in Putney, and I don't ever get back to Newfane until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think the way that the hours are set up currently, the town offices are open later in the day, which makes up the time that would have been open on Friday. That's my understanding of it. And personally, as someone who's working, it's much more useful for me to have a later hours of opening than to have 5 days a week open where it's only open till 3. So I like it the way it is.
Thank you. Yes, Marshall.
Marshall Whitman. I think it's nice to have late hours, but I also think it's nice to be open at least sometime every day. So I think that's still possible to accommodate both. To have some at least some point every day.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Julius Newfane, through you to anyone who can answer the question, is there any budgetary impact to this article? Does it raise our taxes? Who pays for the extra services for the extra day?
I can address that. The salary that you voted for the elected officials earlier in the meeting, covers whatever needs to be done by those elected officials. They actually have the authority to set their own hours, so this would just be giving them the town's advice on how they'd like to see it happen. It would not affect the budget one way or the other.
Any other discussion? And I just remind you, this is non-binding. Yes? What are the current hours?
As town clerk, I'm open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I do come in, I'm sorry, that's so ingrained, Monday through Thursday. So I put in, and the office is available for 40 hours a week. So there's no, I'm closed at noon and none of the other. I had a thought, but I lost it. And I know what it is. I do come in on Fridays and sometimes Saturdays if people need to, and they call me in advance to get marriage licenses and those types of things. I do have to admit that after 6 years of doing 4 10-hour days, I wouldn't mind changing it, but one of the main reasons why I do have these hours to accommodate somebody like Johanna, but also the people who really provide the services for you as the property owner are your title searchers and your lawyers. And they are quite often there, either 8:30, somewhere in there, and up until 6 o'clock. So you get your documents processed if you want to refinance. So that was the main reason why I changed to these hours. But I'm very willing to come in for some part of the day on Friday, maybe try to figure out with title searchers and others, is there a day that I could stay open for the later hours and try to make that consistent.
Is there any other discussion? You ready for the question? Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Maureen, what are your hours?
I post my hours to the public from Monday through Thursday from 9:30 to 4:30. I'm locked in there 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and then I come in on Fridays. I also take work home and do work home because you need the downtime when you're doing math to concentrate on the numbers instead of having the public in and out. But I do have Monday through Thursday open to the public.
Does that answer your question, yeah? All right. Is there any other discussion on Article 10? I'm taking you ready to call the question. It is non-binding, but we'll find out what you think anyway. Shall the voters of the town of Newfane request that the town clerk and treasurer offices be open Monday through Friday? All those in favor of this, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed by saying no? No. Boy, that's close. Do you want to do a division of the House? I need the Board of Civil Authority, and I'm going to ask those. We'll do this side first, and then that side. We're going to vote. That was close. I want to know more clearly by having people who are voting in favor of Article 10 stand and be counted by the Board of Civil Authority. So all those in favor, please stand. And I need my Board of Civil Authority to... Hey, BCA, where are you? Oh, they're counting. They're counting. Are you ready? Are you the only one counting? Is there another member of the Board of Civil Authority here?
Richard Barrett.
Richard, would you?
Ellen Barrett.
Okay. So those of you who are still voting in favor, remain standing, but make sure the Board of Civil Authority, you don't count yourselves unless you mean to. All right, and thank you. And those opposed, please stand. Okay, that's clear. Thank you very much. The article fails. Article 10 fails. Article 11, to transact any other business that may legally come before the town. I remind everybody that we can't take, this is all non-binding, and it is also a really good time for announcements. And I'll start with Mike Granger.
Is it my understanding that this is...
No. But you're supposed to talk to me.
Is it my understanding that this ensuing year we're going to have a townwide reappraisal?
Well, you're the best one who would know if it's your understanding. So maybe your question is...
I'm asking the board of listers, and if so, can they give us just a little glimpse of the process?
And Doris, are you here? I know. Wait, can you answer that question? The question is some information about the townwide appraisal.
Plug it in first.
I think it's in May of 2017, after they gathered all the information, they were in touch with all the county owners previous to that. But they were setting high school quiz, the high school quiz will tell you, what's changed. You'll have a chance for an informal grievance with companies, with the appraisal, and then after that, you'll have a chance for grievance with the June of 2017. And then it will be completely after the action is made, that's all it will. But it will be July of 2017. So it will take a year and a half working on it. Did that answer your question?
I guess I'm confused in terms of it being, it's going to take longer than a year to do the townwide reappraisal?
Well, there's a time where you have to, where they're gathering information and sending out notices and asking questions of the property.
So the townwide appraisal, the paperwork for the listers will start in July of this year. The appraisal will take place in 2016, and the finalization of it will happen in the first half of 2017. Is that correct? That's the timeline? Is there anything else?
Bill Gunther from Newfane. I'd like to direct some comments to Todd and the road crew. I have a stubborn policy of only driving two-wheel drive cars, and I have gotten around everywhere. When I'm down in Newfane, I've gotten stuck anywhere, and I want to make a big thank you to the road crew.
Thank you. Yes. Excuse me, Gloria has the floor.
I'd like us to consider adding to the budget at least next year for shelving for our vault. About 6 years ago, I asked for funding for that, and I did not get that. In the meantime, I rearranged it, so we opened up shelves, but the land record books are getting so that all of the shelving is used up. And the extra shelving that I do have right now houses or will again house all of the FEMA paperwork, so we have to have this safe. So I'm estimating that we have approximately another 2 years before all of the land record books have to be piled someplace. So if you, as the voters of the town of Newfane, would encourage the next year's select board to add that to the budget, and we can, I've already got a design that will have to be updated, I'm sure. In 2009, I believe it was $10,000 to get the same kind of shelving that we can use as a library, move it down so we can get to the back volumes.
Gunther.
There's a survey from the hospital. Please take a minute, fill it out. They want to be ready when you're ready. You don't want to go in and have something wrong with your head and be they're not able to take care of it.
Cheerful thoughts. Yes, Lynn.
Before it's not Newfane, what are your listeners? This doesn't have anything to do with that. There's a group that's been meeting, calling ourselves Newfane New Community Volunteers. And it was pointed out to me especially that we really don't have very much participation from the village of South Newfane or the village of Williamsville. Although I encourage other people from Newfane to be part of that, it would be really a great thing if we had some more of us from the outlying hinterlands. You can check us on our Facebook page, the Newfane Volunteers. And our next meeting, if I remember right, is this Thursday at the library. Bob?
At what time?
6. At 6 o'clock. So we're meeting at the library in Newfane. So I encourage anyone who is really interested in being involved in the community and kind of getting some stuff going on to come. Thank you.
That's Newfane anew, Thursday, 6 o'clock at the Morphy Library. Yes?
Will somebody just give us some brief description of what Newfane anew is about? Maybe everyone knows.
It's in
the town report. What page? Social services. Page 100. Steve.
I didn't want my face to be the only thing on BCTV. But I just wanted, I'm on the Williamsville Hall Committee. I want to thank you all because you may have noticed there's been big improvements in the electrical system. The most obvious are the new lights and the fans, but the electrical system has been completely upgraded, and for the first time in 105 years, it's up to code. And we have some more energy efficiency projects in the works. There's some money left in the town budget. The Hall Committee has raised money, and we hope to insulate it, so maybe in 2 years the place will be even warmer. And I just wanted to thank you all for doing it.
Thank you. Although I would like to note that the place has warmed up considerably over the course of our meeting. Okay, I'm over here first. Yeah.
Dan Brooks, Newfane. First, I'd like to thank the town of Newfane. I'm speaking on behalf of the Historical Society of Linden County. Thanks for the continuous, they continue to donate a certain amount of money every year to help the whole operation go. But mainly what I'd like to just mention is that our new and exciting project of acquiring and restoring the West River Railroad Station in Newfane Village. There's been a lot of enthusiasm. There's been a lot of individual support. So I want to thank everybody for that. Plus future people who want to support. I want to thank you. It's a fun time. It's going to be so exciting. It's going to be done right, and it's going to be ongoing in stages. welcome everybody to be part of it because it could really be a great, great thing. Just wanted to mention one thing. As one of our upcoming fundraisers, it's going to be Sunday, March 29th at the Newbrook Firehouse, and from 4 to 6, with the help of a lot of volunteers, we're going to have a soup dinner. And we have people that have contacted different restaurants through the West River Wine Valley to donate different soups, and we're going to have all kinds of other stuff. Plus, we're going to have a silent raffle with a silent auction with some pretty interesting things. It's going to be great. So that's 4 to 6 on Sunday, March 29th, and thank you all so much.
All right, Joanna.
Johanna Berger, I'm here to make announcements for Ann Landenberger. 3 events coming up. Actually, one of them's not an event, sorry. 2 events coming up. Hats Off is this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday in the evening, 7:30, and then Saturday at 3. And Hats Off, if you haven't been to it before, you really get to see a huge variety of performers. It's all little skits if you like things like Monty Python or
Nichols and May.
Nichols and May. It's very entertaining. They're singing. Dan plays some great piano, so it's a really nice event. The talent. I'm sorry. Say that up at Little and Gray. It's nice to see what kids are doing, and she gets them to do all kinds of great stuff. The talent show is, or talent show / variety show. We don't want anybody to not come because they don't think you're talented. Come and do something. We love humor. April 11th here. If you juggle, if you want to knit a sock while we watch. Call me. I'm in the phone book with Johanna Berger. This is to support the Little Gray players. And everybody always loves it. David Hull again will be the MC. So that'll be fun. And finally, she's got something new. Want to be a Rock River player? Plans are in the works to launch our very own summer theater in August. The tentative plan is to inaugurate the new arts venture with a production of Thornton Wilder's poignant, witty, and wonderful Our Town. Interested? Contact Andy Landenberger at verbatim@svcable.net. I'll leave these up there. Thank you.
All right. We can continue with Article 11, but I do need to remind you that when we finish our town business, we have to resume with our school business. So we haven't finished our school meeting. Yes. Just a minute. There's somebody who's not spoken yet. So, Chris.
Chris Anthony, 566 from Road 30. On March 17th at 6 p.m. at the Newbrook Firehouse, there's going to be a second public meeting looking at interest and possibility of having transit on the Route 30 corridor. And if you think about it, you know, it's not only people who are too young to drive, but maybe older folk who can't drive, would prefer not to drive, and people who just like an alternative to driving themselves. So the challenge, of course, is a lot of people who can't drive can't necessarily get to a meeting at 6 o'clock on a weekday evening. So please let Wyndham Regional Commission know. You can contact me directly. If you have a preference, just let us know where you might, if you would use transit service, or if you have a parent or a child who would use it, generally speaking, where they would like to go to and about what time. It's not a given, but we just need to know kind of what interest people have about where they would like to go and kind of generally where and when.
And Chris, could you just repeat the time and place of the meeting?
March 17th, 6 p.m. Newbrook.
March 17th, Tuesday night. March 17th, Tuesday, 6 p.m., Newbrook Fire Station. Public transportation on Route 30. Thank you. Yes, Neil.
Each of the organizations that provide a summary report beginning on 91 to provide some type of contact information. Some of them do and some of them don't. It just makes it easier to have a point to contact them. Thank you.
Gloria, I'm sorry.
I forgot to announce that there is an animal clinic on Saturday
Newburgh Fire Department from 10 to 1 p.m. So if you have dogs, and lots of you have dogs that haven't been re-licensed, and particularly if you need to get the rabies shot, the town clerk will be at the fire station to be able to register your dogs at that time. You can come to the fire station, even if you've got rabies shots, and get the tags for your dogs. But the drop dead date for your fees to be increased is April 1st. We have about 330 more dogs that still need to be licensed.
So the clinic again is
Saturday, March 7th at the Newburgh Fire Department starting at 10. It'll go until 1. Come in and line up dogs and cats, no horses, no pigs. And Miles Powers is the vet, and last year he charged $20 for the 2 shots, December and rabies.
Any other business? Yes, Bauman.
Bauman Madovi, Newfane. We have a website for the town, newfaneb.com. I recently added a feature that if you enter your email, every time there are new agenda minutes, anything posted, it will automatically send you an email. So if you want to keep updated, and Shannon has been doing a great job keeping everything up to date, you can just subscribe to it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion that we adjourn. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of adjourning the town meeting, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. The town meeting is adjourned. We now take up the school meeting where we left off. We can have a 5-minute recess, but don't go away. I would like to bring the school board meeting, the Town of Newfane School District meeting is resuming now. And if everybody would please take their seat, we can finish our morning's business. First off, we have a surprise guest. Our senior senator from Windham County is here, and if there is no objection, I give you Jeanette White. So that one's on, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to listen to my report. Hi, Tom. So I just want to say that you heard from Emily and Becca this morning, and so hopefully I won't repeat anything that they said, but if I do, oh well. There are really 4 overriding issues at the state level this year that are kind of consuming all of us. One is education reform, the taxing and the governance of it. One is economic development, the creation of jobs so that we can actually increase the prosperity of Vermonters. The third is cleaning the waters of the state, and we hear a lot about Lake Champlain, but it's actually cleaning the waters of the state. On this side of the state, we're having a huge issue with the Connecticut River, so it is not just Lake Champlain, even though everybody talks about the lake. It's the waters. Those 3 are really being addressed by the individual committees that have jurisdiction over them, and I think we're making some progress on all of them. I can't say how much we're making because I don't serve on any of those committees. The one issue that we're all being asked to weigh in on is the $120 million shortfall in our budget. That's shortfall in the general fund. That's a huge shortfall, and we're each being asked to look at it. And I have to say that there is going to be pain around solving this budget crunch. And I mean, it's not even a crunch, it's a real crisis, but there's going to be pain. there. And our job, as I see it, is to protect, to make it the least painful for those who have the least voice. But there is going to be a lot of pain. And I have to tell you, our parochialism, not just in terms of where we live, but in terms of our values and our constituencies, are coming out. I came up with an idea the other day that would have saved $5 million. I was pretty excited about that. $5 million is not chump change. And people went, oh no, we can't go there because that's my constituency. Not geographically, and we have to get beyond that or we're never going to solve this. We've pulled down all the low-hanging fruit, as they say. We've used all our one-time money, and we're going to have to make some hard decisions. So I serve on 2 committees. In the morning, I serve on Judiciary, and 2 of the things we've been dealing with on Judiciary for the most part this year are our Child Protection Service. We had a couple tragic accidents last year, or tragic incidents last year, and it resulted in the death of 2 children. So we've been looking at how to improve our child protection system, not just the Agency of Human Services, but the whole thing, the courts, the DCF, the whole system. And I think we've made some progress. There's been a lot of angst about the creation of a new crime, and I never like to create new crimes. I think we do that too much anyway. But around the failure to protect a child, and I can go into detail on that if you want me to later on. I'm not going to now because it gets down into the weeds a lot. The other one we've been dealing with is guns. And there's a lot of passion on both sides on this issue. And where we are right now in Judiciary is, I believe, we're looking at 3 different things. We're looking at passing parallel legislation to the federal government, because right now we're the only state in the country that doesn't have parallel legislation. That means somebody can be arrested under the federal law. They shouldn't be having a gun. They have a gun. We can't prosecute them. The state cannot prosecute them. It has to go to the federal prosecutors, and they're only going to take on big splash cases. So we're the only state in the country that doesn't have this. So it would allow us then to just have our state's attorneys prosecute for violations of the gun law. And the other 2 things are how we define, in making this parallel law, we are redefining the way we look at felons, because the federal government, the definition of a felon is anyone who has been convicted of a crime that has a 1-year sentence. That's way too broad. It encompasses way too many people. So we're looking at a felon as one who has been convicted of one of what's called the listed crimes, and they are really the awful crimes. They're murder, arson resulting in a murder, the sexual abuse of a child. It's that, I think there's 13 of them. And then we're looking at the redefinition of a person with mental illness and how that would be defined, and looking at only the very most serious cases, and with a ramp out so that people can get off the list once they're better. In government operations, we're reviewing the open meeting law, which some of you probably know is a bit of an issue for some people. We're responding to the closing of Austin School and how we deal with the deaf and hard of hearing children in our state and their families and the services we provide. We don't have a very good system in Vermont. Government operations is a fun committee because it's called government operations, so we can deal with anything we want to deal with, right? Because it's all the operation of the government. So if there's a bill in another committee and they're sitting on it and I think I might want to take it, I just take it into my committee. And most of the time they're happy because most of the time it tends to be kind of controversial bills, and we don't shy away from those. We're looking at the establishment of a new profession, because we do all the professional regulations, called dental practitioners. Everybody in the state seems to be in favor of that except the dentists. Right. And we're looking at a more timely disclosure of lobbying efforts to influence legislation as it's happening. Because currently lobbyists, you don't have to register until May. Well, that doesn't do a lot of good if you're spending a lot of money in March to influence legislation. And then we are looking at, our committee is looking at the legalization of marijuana from the point of view not of should we or shouldn't we do it, but if we're going to do it in Vermont, how should it be done? Because what happened in the other states is they passed the law or the constitutional amendment without any questions. They didn't know what they were doing. They're running into all kinds of problems. Some people just went out to Colorado to visit. So we're looking at how should it happen the Vermont way. And we're getting tons of ideas from business people, the Department of Health, the Department of Public Safety, liquor control. We're listening to all of them, and we're kind of taking that on for a couple hours every Friday afternoon. We're also looking at real estate exempt properties in the state and how we determine what they are. There's probably 20% of the state is in that category, which means that the rest of us are picking up the tax burden for those properties. And I just want to comment on, I don't know how many of you heard the commentary from your moderator yesterday on the radio about town meeting, but it was great. And one of the goals of my committee is to work to preserve democracy. And I think that town meeting, we need to work to make sure that town meeting is meaningful and make sure that there are issues that should be discussed, discussion that happens, and then real decisions to be made. And from my perspective, the Australian ballot has taken away the discussion, and the state has taken away the issues and the real decisions. So we need to upend that a little bit. So with that, that's all I have to say, and thank you, and have a good rest of the town meeting. I'll take questions if you want. I don't know what your pleasure is.
Actually are now working under a bit of an emergency. Okay. I've just been told there is no water in the building and therefore no bathroom use. So I think we need to finish our work.
Go fast. Believe me, I'm not going to stand in the way of that.
Thank you, Jeanette. There is, however, if there is no objection, Scotty Tabachnik, the principal of the Newbrook Elementary School, has been sitting here very patiently to introduce himself and answer any questions before he goes on to the Brookline meeting. He, however, lives in Dummerston, so I imagine he's missed his chance to vote entirely. So if there's no objection, I'd like to let Scotty speak briefly.
Thank you. I will be voting in Dummerston today. Polls don't close for a while. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to serve this town and the children of this town. I really love my new job, and I'm very proud of it. I'm always at the school, so please, if you have any questions at all, or if you have any concerns, I would love to hear those questions and concerns and to address them myself. You can find us on the web. Or you can like us on Facebook. We just started a Facebook page. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but I post a lot of stuff on Facebook that could really tell you what kinds of things are happening with the children of Newfane and Brookline at school, what kinds of things we're doing, and the kinds of things that we hope to do. I guess that's really all I have to say right now. If there are any specific questions, I would love to take them now. Or if you would like to come see me in my office or give me a call at the building, I would love to hear from you. We have, I believe that on Friday, 2 students left, so I think we're at 124 as of yesterday. It was 126. At the very beginning of the school year, we had 122 when the census was taken. A family moved from Townsend with 3 children. This Thursday, we're issuing, I believe the plan is to issue 2 RFPs, one for the HVAC and one for the solar. And then we'll start getting bids, and we'll start looking at those bids as a committee. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity that I have to serve this community, and I really love the West River Valley, and I have so since I moved here in 2004 from Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And Scotty, so that you and everybody else here knows, next year when we meet at the Union Hall, the school meeting comes first. So we are in Article 2, to compensate the directors of the Newfane School District $200 each. Is there a motion? Gunther and Myra. The motion has been moved and seconded to compensate the directors of the Newfane School District $200 each. Gunther, you made the motion. Would you like to speak first? No. Is there any discussion? Article 2. If there's no discussion, are you ready for the vote? Yes. Okay, to vote, and I vote you're in favor of the $200 for each of the, there are actually 3 school directors. Only one is here at the moment. So, Article 2, to compensate the directors of the Newfane School District $200 each. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. We'll do that again. All right. All those in favor of compensating the directors of the Newfane School District $200 each, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it. Article 2 passes. Okay. Article 3, to set the date of the annual meeting of the Newfane School District for the first Tuesday of March in the year of 2016. Is there a motion? So moved. Myra moves it. Is there a second? Tom Bedell seconds it. Article 3, to set the date of the annual meeting of the Newfane School District for the first Tuesday in March in the year of 2016 is on the floor. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the vote? Okay. And I vote means you're in favor of having this meeting next year at this time. All those in favor of Article 3, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and Article 3 passes. Article 4, to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting. Is there any... This is all non-binding, but it is whatever you need to say. Yeah.
Dr. Garvey, Newfane Hill. Just want to remind the Assembly that there's a very nice, warm building with running water. It's called Meadow Elementary School, and it has a level ground. You don't have to climb anything. There's spaces for 100 cars. It's plowed.
Yes.
I'd like to remind people that the Newbrook Elementary School has no sense of history, no
Excuse me, please, let him speak. Yes, Bill.
Bill Gunther, Newfane. I'd like to thank the school board for taking the bold move, along with the Energy Committee, and proposal they put forth. It was great to see. I counted 308 people there that night. I wish that many people would turn out for a regular budget vote, but it is what it is. I guess, in democracy, you can't always get everybody out. But I think these folks did an admirable job. And Tim, I want to thank you also for hitting up the Energy Committee and pulling off a really great project. Looking forward to it.
Is there any further discussion? Yes, Neil.
Neil Phelps again. I believe that, I'm not sure which part of the meeting last year, but as a result of the Regional Education District Committee not moving forward with a proposal to form a regional education district in our district, the Newbrook School agreed that they would begin discussions on eliminating the joint contract board and forming a single formal school board with representatives from Brookline and Newfane. I'm wondering what work has been done in that regard. I think it's way overdue to have a single board.
Not to put you on the spot, but can you talk to me?
Hi. Yeah.
There's a
Well,
mic for you if you like.
I don't know. Can everybody hear me? Usually I don't need one. Which is probably why everyone left me. No. We have had a lot of discussion on whether to have the joint contract board or just a joint board, and there's benefits to both sides. One is that if we don't like something now, we can just amend it and change it. And such as, for example, just even the population difference between the town students of each town, everything would have to be changed every year. So it would have to require votes and that kind of stuff just for acquiring taxes if I understood what I've been told. So that, and there's, I mean, then the good thing about it would be, oh wait, never mind. I can't remember any of the good things about it, to be honest with you.
Audits and budgets.
Audits and budgets, we would cut, yeah, we would save on one audit. Okay, and basically that's the only savings that would come from that financial-wise, that we would have, well, we could probably reduce down to 5 board members instead of 6 between the two towns. And how we would do that, I don't know. But I mean, is there anything in particular that we've had the pros and cons, and at this point we're still at an injunction of where do we go? Some days I just feel like saying, yes, let's do that. And other days it's like, well, we don't want to do that if this is going to happen. So.
Yeah.
Could you explain why your first point, you could do it under one system and not the other?
Because we're 2 different school districts. We have the Newfane School District and the Brookline School District. And if we become one district, all the monies are changed around differently. They come to one account, one district, versus the 2 districts, and the money gets a lot of different ways. And actually, it would actually be less money coming in if it was one district.
Is it more like Leland and Gray, which is
As far as?
the way it works?
As far as?
The money.
The way the money works now, it's based on the percentage of students from each town, on how much taxes are required from each town to meet the budget. Right.
Neil, you have a further question?
In addition to savings on the audit, would there not be efficiencies with respect to bookkeeping and accounting, the financial aspect of it?
I've heard there would be, but the only difference would be is pretty much a single entry in the beginning of the year, or 4 times a year, and at the end of the year dispersing the leftovers back to each town, because the joint account has to have a 0 balance at the end of the year. So basically, when taxes come in from each prospective town, they go into each town's school budget, and then they go into the joint to pay the bills. And then at the end of the year, whatever's left over gets dispersed back equally between, the percentage of students back to each town. So that's the only bookkeeping that I see there.
Yes, sir.
son from Milton. How many students is the capacity of that?
Oh, 250? 250, I believe,
So it's less than half the capacity.
at this point, yes.
Now with what the state has going on, you're talking about changing the districts or combining schools, is that gonna, how does that affect?
Well, I'm not going to say this specific district, but the whole WCSU has been very proactive on, like Bucky was saying, part of the committee was the Reg Committee, and we've been very proactive on trying to stay ahead of the state. That's how we got this joint contract board before one of the schools wound up getting closed down or something, and to keep costs down. We've been very proactive on every level of trying to stay ahead of the state as far as keeping the local control over the schools and yet doing it efficiently. So,
Now, so the two towns just have the one, no?
the two towns have the one elementary school, yeah. We also have the Brookline School in our district too, which is right now being rented, leased to a daycare that pretty much the income basically goes to cover the cost of maintaining the building, so that it's not a burden on us.
Not a burden on the taxpayers.
What we're in the process of selling that back to the town now of Brookline.
So you combine the schools, bring the two populations.
Right. We don't want to be landlords anymore.
No. So
Thank you.
if they do make us have to do something.
Then we'll have to do something. Well, right now I think in the district we're probably the least of their concerns, considering we have one of the highest populations of school children in the district. It would be more like Jamaica, Wardsboro, all the towns that have Wyndham, smaller.
Yeah.
Because right now we actually have like 17-to-1 ratio on student teacher, so we're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And we're, if not the lowest this year. I don't know, I can't definitely say it this year because I haven't got the figures, but I always used to say we're the lowest cost per pupil in the district. I don't know if I can say that this year, but if we're not, we're pretty darn close.
Now,
Right,
what is the population in the other schools?
It varies. I don't even think I have, that hasn't gotten to me yet.
I'm just a little concerned that this is getting into, it's.
Right.
So we're the biggest thing, so. And there's more room to grow, so that if they did change stuff around, they could bring students in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it is a beautiful building.
Ken, could you just remind us all when the joint school board meets and where?
Absolutely. Next Tuesday.
Okay.
We will be meeting at Newbrook Elementary at, I believe, 6 o'clock, because we have to do the two separate, the Brookline reorganization meeting, and then the Newfane reorganization meeting, then the joint board reorganizational meeting.
All right. And those meetings are always open to the public?
Absolutely, and you're more than welcome to come. I encourage everyone to come. We have had some people show up, and I was very disappointed at our budget informational meeting. We had one person show up. Thank you. Well, no, don't even give me the Leland and Gray thing. Our meeting started after the vote was over.
Are there any other comments or any other business that may legally come before the meeting regarding the Newfane School District? Yes.
Will we adjourn?
And who seconded? Carlene? Everybody, oh, Dan, everybody in favor of adjournment, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.